Funerals were very important in the Victorian area. They provided an opportunity for the friends and family to pay homage to the deceased. They also provided the opportunity as a social event where friends and family from long away would be able to gather together and join this. The basis of this was a very lavish funerals that the wealthy had, and the common people attempted to imitate those conditions as much as possible with a lavish funeral. Today we have the opportunity to visit the Alexander Noble House that is decorated in the typical Victorian tradition of that day. So we'll move now to the Alexander Noble House. One of the first symbols that we have on the porch of the Alexander Noble House is a sigh with the sheaf of wheat and the flowers. This is, of course, a commemorative thing, and it also indicates the passage of time and the harvest of the deceased.
Welcome to A House in Mourning. Today we're depicting funeral customs from the late 1800s in the historic Alexander Noble home. Please come in. I'm going to take you down the hall to the sitting room where the family gathered. The sitting room was much like what you would call a family room today. Many of the pieces in this room are original. Today, because of the wake for Alexander, we have the table set for visitors. On the other side of the room, you'll notice a desk that belonged to Alexander Noble. He was town chairman for a time. He also occupied a seat on the county board, was postmaster, as well as being the town blacksmith and a farmer. On top of his desk, you'll notice the column clock from the 18th century. This is also original to the house, and the clock has been stopped at the hour of death, which was the Victorian funeral custom. All of the clocks in the house have been stopped. Now, in the other corner of the room, we have the post office. We are told by the village elders that this is the very place where the post office stood. There was no town building as a post office. Instead, the postmaster would hold post office hours in his own home, possibly several days a week and possibly for just a few hours a day. But the community would gather here to pick up their mail and exchange gossip. On a rainy day, it was quite a mess indeed for the lady of the house. I'd like to show you some mourning attire. Since this is a Victorian funeral, we have some beautiful examples of widow's weeds. These dresses are over 100 years old. To be in proper mourning attire, the lady of the house would be dressed in black from head to toe. The bonnet on the hat stand is from the 1800s. It is on loan from the Door County Historical Museum and is an authentic mourning veil. The hat that you see at the top of the hat stand is called a weeper. A widower would wear a wide grosgrain ribbon on his hat for 3 months to show that he was in a state of mourning. Now, mourning lasted for a year and a day, sometimes longer, but it was very strict that it should not be less than a year and a day. Then slowly a widow was able to change to gray dresses, possibly lavender, and then finally, after a 2-year period, to colors. In this room, which was the small bedroom of the house, we have some wonderful Victorian artifacts from funerals and funeral memorabilia. We have here a mourning handkerchief next to Proper mourning stationery. Mourning jewelry was made of jet. Jet is a stone that's easily carved, is black, lightweight, and lends itself very nicely to mourning jewelry. Queen Victoria was the one who popularized that. The mourning cards were originally sent to announce a funeral and then later given out as a remembrance. These are some examples of pictures taken in the casket of young children who had died. These would have been the only photographs a grieving parent might have had. Next to the photographs we have a lady's beaded jabot, a little mourning accessory worn at the throat. And next to that, an Abraham Lincoln mourning badge. This was found in the house. It is believed to have been a possession of Emily Noble, who was the first wife of Alexander. And by the streamers we see, with black and white, that Abraham Lincoln died as a young man. Next to the mourning badge are some beautiful examples of memorial jewelry woven from human hair. This would have been done as a keepsake to remember a loved one. Hair was a very lasting and very personal memento. Then we have a mourning fan and a small collection of casket plaques. It was customary in those days to have a casket plaque on the casket during the funeral, but it was removed and given to the family as a memento before the casket was buried. We have a bottle of embalming fluid from the 1800s. And this photograph shows a family in mourning attire. And now I'd like to take you to the parlor. This parlor has been restored to the year that the house was built, 1875. The wake that you see here and all of its trappings are very similar to what would have been done in that day. The theme of Victorian decorating was excess, and flowers were always abundant at funerals. We have some symbolic arrangements. We have the Masonic wreath, because Alexander Noble was in fact a Mason. Then we have the open gates. This was another traditional Victorian symbolic wreath. Now, during the wake, someone would be with the deceased 24 hours a day for a period of 1 to 4 days. Candles would be burning, a few lamps would be lit. The atmosphere would be very solemn indeed. The Victorians took their mourning very seriously. Probably the most famous mourner of all was Queen Victoria, who, when her dear husband, Prince Albert, died in 1861, went into mourning for the rest of her life. Mourning was so commonplace to the Victorians, they were prepared for it. The Civil War caused people to mourn for years. Every family was touched by death in some way. Either a husband, father, brother, cousin, neighbor had died in the Civil War. Infant mortality was high. Death was a part of life in Victorian days. Picture of Alexander Noble in his later years. Many of of the furnishings in this room are original. The antique organ was in this home. It was purchased in 1887. The clock above it is also original to the house. Again, stopped at the hour of death. Many of the tables, chairs, and other furnishings, as well as the photographs, are from this home. Here we have an antique hair wreath. This was made in 1880. It was very typical of the time when hair was woven into intricate designs as a memorial. This is on loan from the Door County Historical Museum. Well, if you've had enough of grieving for the moment, I'd like to show you a few other things in the house. Let's go upstairs, and I'll show you Pa's room. As you ascend the stairs, you may notice the buggy whips that were found in exactly that place when the house was acquired. They probably did belong to Alexander Noble. The hall mirror is draped in proper mourning fashion. And Pa's room, as we call it, Alexander's room, is just as he left it. We know that he slept on a rope bed from letters that we found in the house. The odd-looking wooden object under the bed is a key, a bed key, which is used to tighten the ropes. The Gothic desk in the corner is original to the house and may be the oldest piece in the house. The original house on this property burned within the same year that this house was built. And we think that that piece survived the fire because it does have some damage on it from smoke and fire. It's a two-piece desk, and it was probably picked up and carried out of the house because it contained the family's valuable papers. This is Alexander's dresser. We know it's original to the house, and it even has his name written in pencil on the back, probably as a shipping label from when it came into the harbor, which is just a block in front of us. Now I'd like to take you back downstairs to the kitchen where everyone's been busy getting ready for visitors. You may note that the hall tree is also properly draped because there is a mirror there. One does not want to see one's reflection after a death in the family. It is very bad luck and indicates that you may be next. Just off the sitting room, we have the kitchen. The kitchen is always considered workspace in the Victorian home. And today is a day for preparation. Neighbors would be bringing food to sustain the family, some preserves. It's September, apples are in season, so they would bring what they have. The neighbor ladies would be probably helping out in the kitchen in order for the lady of the house to properly grieve and attend to her guests. This kitchen is again very much the same as it would have been in Alexander's day. The pantry was off to this side, with easy access also into the dining sitting room. The stove would have been in that place. And next to the stove we have two doors that interestingly lead to woodshed on one side and bathroom and storeroom on this side. And now I'd like to take you to the porch where we have another interesting artifact from the 1800s. It's called a cooling board. This is a portable table that the undertaker would have brought to the home to embalm the deceased. And very often, the coffin would not yet be ready. It was being built. So the deceased may have been laid out on this very cooling board in the parlor. The reason it's called a cooling board is the body was packed with ice to aid in preservation during the days before refrigeration. Well, our mourning period of 3 days is coming to an end, and it's time for the burial. The pallbearers have arrived, and they are now going to be taking the coffin from the parlor, out the front door, down the front steps, to where the funeral procession will begin.
Here's a couple that you can talk to.
Oh, we shall miss Alexander. He was such a good neighbor.
Yes, and he was a real politician. He was on the chairman of the town and was on the county board. And once he fixed my buggy when it broke down.
He was a good friend. He was, excuse me, also active in the Masons. He was very active. And his daughter Eula wanted to be a Mason, and she couldn't, so she joined the Eastern Star. Actually, she organized the Eastern Star in Wisconsin. That was the first chapter in Sturgeon Bay. Hello, Reverend.
Hi, ma'am. It's nice to see you
Hi.
again. It's nice to see you
Good to
again.
see you.
I understand you're talking about Alexander Nolan.
Yes,
Yeah.
we shall miss
Yes,
him.
he
Yes,
He's
he
a
was
good
a great
neighbor.
Great,
leader.
great
Right.
man.
A little crusty, but a
Yeah.
fine man.
Yes, he got a little crotchety once in a
Yes,
while,
he
but he
did.
had a good heart.
Yes, he did.
Very.
And he was always interested in the town.
Yes.
In fact, I think he helped build most of the
I
town.
think that's right.
Did you tell them about being the blacksmith and the man who came to give
Yes.
him the shoe?
Yes,
Yeah.
I said he fixed my buggy.
Yes. He liked to, more or less when you talked to him, you always felt like you were talking to a kind of an English lord. It was like talking to a president. You always had to be very precise in what you wanted to say.
And his first wife was such a lovely woman, wasn't she? What a shame when their house burned. But then they built a lovely home here.
Funeral processions were very elaborate. The procession was usually led by a very ornate hearse, and then rental carriages that would carry the minister and the family, and then followed by many other carriages on the street. The obituaries of the people at this time always mention how elaborate and how long the funeral procession was. If the burying place was very close to the home where the service was conducted, they frequently just walked to the cemetery. During a time like that, the minister would lead the way. They'd be followed perhaps by a flower girl, then the casket being carried by the pallbearers, and then the mourning family and the friends. This was their last time to pay a tribute to the deceased person.
are gathered here tonight to bid Alexander Noble, at the age of 75, 10 months, on Godspeed to his new place of worship, heaven. As you all know, Alexander Noble was born in Edinburgh, Scotland on November 29, 1829. Mr. Noble was one of the first pioneers in this area. He came to Wisconsin and settled on Chambers Island, where he had a sawmill, but he shortly moved here to Fish Creek in 1855. Mr. Noble learned the craft of a blacksmith, and he was an excellent mechanic. In later years, he became a very skilled craftsman and highly looked up to. Mr. Noble truly was one of the last pioneers, for he felled trees, he built roads, he laid fences, mended fences, he also tilled the soil, and he helped establish this community. Mr. Noble, in his lifetime, held many public offices, both in school and in the town. In the last 7 years, he was chairman of the town. Mr. Noble was also a true and outstanding member of the Harry S. Baird Masonic Temple. Mr. Noble has left a wife, his second wife, Marie Campbell, and 7 children, 3 of which were born to him by his first wife, Mrs. Vaughn, and she died in 1872 at the age of 34. Now, I would like you all to bow your heads, and I would like you to take this moment to each of you say a final farewell to Mr. Noble in your own words, silently, please. Mr. Noble's friendship and leadership in this community will be greatly, greatly missed. And we give our felt sympathy to the bereaved family, and we will truly, truly say that he will be missed. And may God rest his soul, and may he find peace and happiness in heaven. And now, as you leave this cemetery, may you also go in peace, and may the Lord walk beside you, and may the Lord guide you and keep you safe. Until we all meet again, Godspeed.